story we have been following throughout the past 2 days surrounds the superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star.
The brutal reality behind Caitlin Clark's injuries, the most chilling part of Caitlin Clark's season-ending saga, isn't just the timeline of injuries. It's the unrelenting physical punishment she endured every single game. Punishment that many believe was not only ignored but practically sanctioned by officials and league leadership. From the moment she entered the WNBA, Clark was a target. Her rookie season wasn't just about dazzling highlights and sold-out crowds. It was about surviving. Hard fouls, body checks, elbows to the ribs. Clark absorbed them all while keeping her focus on elevating the Fever and proving she belonged at the highest level. Last year, she received a staggering 20% of all flagrant fouls in the entire league. Most of them delivered by Chicago Sky's Angel Reese, who became infamous for her repeated cheap shots and taunts. These weren't just hard basketball plays. They were deliberate acts meant to intimidate and wear Clark down. Clips circulated of Reese and others laughing after shoving Clark to the floor, mocking her pain in a way that went viral and enraged fans across the country. Any other workplace, and these incidents would have led to suspensions or even criminal charges. But in the WNBA, it seemed to be treated as just part of the game. The referees' whistles were inconsistent at best and non-existent at worst. Every nationally televised game became a theater of frustration as viewers watched Clark get hammered with little to no calls. Social media exploded nightly with slow-motion replays showing slaps across her arms, shoulders driven into her chest, and dangerous undercuts that could have ended her season on the spot. The question echoed louder and louder. Why wasn't the league protecting its biggest star? This wasn't merely about fairness or missed calls. It was about the direct link between unchecked physical abuse and Clark's eventual collapse. Experts have long warned that constant high-impact hits compound existing injuries, especially soft-tissue ones like quads and groins. Clark was already dealing with a delicate recovery process, and every shove, hack, and uncalled foul added invisible strain to her body. By July, when she went down with the catastrophic right groin tear, it felt like the inevitable result of months of neglect. Fans began connecting the dots, and the outrage shifted from sadness to fury. Prominent commentators and former players accused the league of willful blindness, arguing that Clark's star power was being exploited for ratings while her health was sacrificed in the process. The comparisons were damning. Stars like Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson routinely drew double-digit free throws per game, while Caitlin Clark, who absorbed more contact than anyone, often went entire quarters without a single whistle in her favor. It wasn't just inconsistency. It was a pattern that spoke volumes about priorities. The Fever weren't just battling opponents. They were battling referees, narratives, and a league office that seemed determined to keep the cash cow running, no matter the cost. Even Aaliyah Boston, Clark's teammate and two-time All-Star, couldn't escape the bias. She routinely found herself in foul trouble after questionable calls, while opposing players were allowed to rough up Indiana's stars with impunity. As if that weren't enough, the messaging around Clark's recovery became a scandal of its own. For weeks, the Fever labeled her injuries as day-to-day, creating a false sense of hope. Even when internal reports suggested she was far from game-ready, the public narrative remained one of cautious optimism. This wasn't just poor communication, it was a strategy. Every game-time decision update kept ticket sales flowing, and national broadcasts humming. Sold-out arenas across the country expanded seating to meet the unprecedented demand for Caitlin Clark games. Merchandise sales shattered records. The league rode the wave, all while knowing that Clark's chances of returning were slim at best. When the truth finally came out, it felt like betrayal. Fans didn't just lose money, they lost faith. Many began calling for independent investigations by the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission, alleging deceptive practices by both the Fever and the WNBA. The perception that profits were prioritized over player safety and transparency has left a scar that may take years to heal. In the meantime, Clark's absence has forced Indiana into survival mode. The Fever's record now stands precariously at 21-20, clinging to the final playoff spot with only 3 games remaining. The Los Angeles Sparks lurk just a game and a half behind, ready to pounce if Indiana stumbles. Without Clark, the Fever's offensive engine is drastically diminished. Kelsey Mitchell has taken on the role of primary scorer, using her veteran experience to steady the team, while Aaliyah Boston has become the anchor inside, dominating the paint despite relentless defensive attention. Role players like Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham have stepped up in ways few anticipated. Hall's perimeter defense and Cunningham's toughness have given Indiana an edge in gritty games, even if the box scores don't fully capture their impact. Behind the scenes, coach Stephanie White has juggled lineups and managed minutes with surgical precision, using hardship contracts and veteran signings like Odyssey Sims and Shapetti to keep the rotation intact. It's not glamorous basketball, but it's the only path left. Every possession now carries the weight of a season, and every mistake could be the difference between a playoff berth and a devastating collapse. The Fever's fight for survival and the future of the WNBA. The Indiana Fever now stand at the edge of a cliff, staring into a future that feels both uncertain and defining. This isn't just a battle for a playoff spot. It's a battle for the soul of the franchise and, in many ways, for the credibility of the WNBA itself. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever's entire identity has been forced to shift overnight. What was once a team defined by dazzling offense and national hype is now a gritty, underdog squad scraping for survival. The narrative has transformed from highlight reels to hard-fought defensive possessions and late-game scrambles. Every player on the roster understands the stakes. Kelsey Mitchell's veteran leadership has never been more crucial. As she carries the scoring load while mentoring younger teammates, Aaliyah Boston has emerged as the emotional backbone, her relentless rebounding and rim protection setting the tone. Lexi, Hull, and Sophie Cunningham embody the team's fighting spirit, their willingness to die for loose balls and take charges reflecting a collective refusal to quit. These aren't the glamorous moments that make viral clips, but they are the backbone of a team refusing to fade quietly. The Fever's coaching staff has embraced a mentality of adaptation. Stephanie White has been praised for her ability to keep morale high despite the constant chaos. She's rotated lineups, experimented with defensive schemes, and found ways to maximize every player's strengths. Bringing in veterans through hardship contracts wasn't just about filling gaps. It was about sending a message that this team would not roll over no matter how dire the circumstances. Players like Odyssey Sims bring invaluable experience, providing stability when younger teammates falter under pressure. Shapetti's steady presence off the bench has helped prevent late-game meltdowns. These moves may seem minor on paper, but in practice, they've been the difference between hanging on and completely unraveling. The Fever's ability to remain competitive without their superstar has impressed even their harshest critics. Even as Indiana fights tooth and nail to extend its season, the shadow of Caitlin Clark looms over everything. Her absence is felt not just on the court but in the league's overall energy. National broadcasts that once drew record-breaking ratings now struggle to replicate the buzz. Ticket sales have plateaued. The playoff race feels flatter. Lacking the narrative spark that Clark naturally brought, the league's gamble building its entire marketing machine. Around one player has backfired spectacularly. This season has exposed the fragile foundation of that strategy. It's a harsh lesson. No single player, no matter how great, can carry an entire league without proper support and protection. The fallout from this saga will ripple far beyond 2025. Fans are demanding answers. Some are calling for WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert to resign, blaming her leadership for failing to enforce consistent officiating and player safety standards. Others are targeting the Players Association, accusing them of being complicit in allowing a barbaric style of play to flourish unchecked. The anger isn't just about Clark's injuries. It's about the sense that the entire system is broken. When fans believe a league is sacrificing integrity for short-term gains, rebuilding trust becomes an uphill battle. And yet, within this storm, there is also a glimmer of hope. Caitlin Clark herself has vowed to come back stronger than ever. In 2026, her statement, filled with gratitude for the fans and determination to reclaim her career, has become a rallying cry. Disappointed isn't a big enough word, she admitted, but her resolve shines through the pain. For the Fever, the next 3 games will define not just their season, but their identity moving forward. If they make the playoffs, it will be because every player refused to let adversity define them. If they fall short, the offseason will bring difficult questions about roster construction, coaching strategies, and the future of a team built entirely around one transcendent star. For the WNBA, the lessons are even more profound. Protecting players, enforcing fair play, and prioritizing transparency are no longer optional. They are survival mandates. Without them, the league risks losing the very audience it worked so hard to gain. As fans watch these final moments unfold, they are witnessing more than just basketball. They are witnessing a test of resilience, accountability, and vision. Caitlin Clark's season may be over, but her impact continues to reverberate through every arena, every broadcast, and every debate about what the WNBA should be. Indiana's fight to stay alive is about more than wins and losses. It's about more than wins and losses. It's about proving that even when the brightest light goes dark, the game itself can still shine. The question now is simple, yet profound. Can the Fever rise from the ashes and forge a new path? Or will this season be remembered as the moment when everything changed forever?
Caitlin Clark's shocking season collapse. The WNBA world was rocked to its core when the announcement finally came crashing down like a thunderbolt. Caitlin Clark, the brightest star and face of the league, was officially ruled out for the remainder of the 2025 season, and with that single revelation, a season full of hope, hype, and historic expectations came crumbling apart before everyone's eyes. For weeks, maybe even months, there had been whispers, rumors, and cautious optimism swirling around Clark's potential return. Fans clung desperately to every small update, like lifeline clips of her lightly jogging in practice, vague press conferences with words like day-to-day, and statements from the Indiana Fever that always left more questions than answers. It felt like the organization and the league were dangling a dream in front of the very people who had built Caitlin Clark into the cultural phenomenon she had become. And now, with this gut-wrenching confirmation, the truth is clear. The season was lost long before today's announcement, and the most electrifying player in women's basketball was left broken, both physically and emotionally, while fans, ticket holders, and the entire WNBA community were left to pick up the pieces of a season defined by misdirection and shattered promises. This wasn't just a setback for a player. This was a full-blown disaster for a league that had built its entire marketing engine around one transcendent superstar. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player, she was the catalyst for record-breaking ticket